Welcome back to episode 2 with Primeval Radio. We're here with the crew. We are one man short today. Tyler Patton could not make it today, and we have Greg McCormick Skyping in from his apartment. But I am here as well as
Brad Egerton.
And we have a couple of things to talk about. So this is the first week after the pre-release, and a bunch of us did a whole bunch of release events last week and things like that. But before we get into that, let's talk about the week in review. Did anybody have any exciting stories happen to them, Magic related?
Yeah, we did the pre-release this past weekend at Aerostar Games in Stephenville. Friday I did pretty well. Saturday I opened just absolute crap, but on Friday I built a pretty cool red-white deck with 2 Kari Zevs and a Sky Sovereign, so ended up getting first place in that. It was pretty sweet.
Congratulations on that.
Well, thank you.
Greg, what about you?
Not too much. Just enjoying the Legacy Cube that's up on MTGO right now.
I think we all are enjoying the Legacy Cube a little too much. All right. Well, okay. So the first thing we need to talk about is getting into Constructed. Now we have a whole bunch of new rules that Wizards of the Coast enacted in January for us, and I think it's important that the people who are playing actually understand these new rules, because if they go to competitive events, they will get faulted for it because it's not as chill as F&Ms. So the first rule that they have to deal with is shuffling. A lot of people do pile shuffles as a way to break up their lands and spells ratio in their deck. Wizards has made a new rule that you may only pile shuffle at the beginning of each game, so you can only do it once. You can't do it in between mulligans. And they're doing this mainly to cut down on time. That way they kind of help prevent the ways of going to time as much as possible. They did this they were going too much time with fetch lands, so when fetch lands rotated, it sped up a little bit, but then people were pile shuffling way too much and it was still taking to time. So it's not really a big rule, but it is something to be aware of to those people who like to pile shuffle even after mulligans to try to break up their lands and things like that. Also with Sealed, they have changed the time limits to building as well, and it looks like that we've gone up from 30 minutes to 40 minutes. So you get an extra 25% originally from the time you had to build decks, just to make sure everything's all good and everything like that.
I actually like that.
Yeah, that'll help a lot of
time's good.
Yeah, that'll help a lot of new people out for Sealed as well, just to read through the cards and actually understand the interactions. Also, this is the big one: time limits on your turn during Constructed. The time limit before was, I think, 2 minutes per turn. Was that right?
I'm not sure.
Okay, I believe it was 2 minutes. Now they've cut it down to where you have 60 seconds per turn. And that's so it's not 60 seconds from beginning to end. It is 60 seconds to where if you're thinking about a play, you have 60 seconds to go through all the math and everything like that. That way you don't just sit for a few minutes at a time just doing nothing. If you do take longer than 60 seconds before you make a move, then they can call judge on you and you can get a game warning. And if it happens again, you can get a game loss for slow play. Now, you cannot just play a land and then think about it and then play a spell and then think about it. You cannot do that. They will call slow play on you for that as well. Like, you have to 60 seconds to make a legitimate play and without slow playing.
I mean, most of the time that won't, just thinking about the past year playing, like, I think almost all my turns have been under 60 seconds, except when I cast Emrakul.
Mm-hmm. Well, things like
that's
that.
not a problem anymore.
Well, no, things like that you can have your time, but what they're trying to cut down on is just people playing, like people that know their beat, and they're up one game in the series, then playing a land and then stopping, and then playing a spell and then stopping, just trying to drain that clock.
Intentionally slow playing to try to get a draw, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, that's what they're trying to do. Also, as far as draft goes, they've lengthened the review periods in between the booster packs in the draft. The review period between the first and second boosters is now up to 60 seconds. It was previously 30 seconds. So you have twice as long to review your booster picks in between the drafts. And with Aether Revolt drafts coming up, that actually has a lot to improvise as well. And then the review period between the second and third booster packs is now 90 seconds, and it was previously 45 seconds. So, all right, well, let's get into the pre-release findings. So we talked last episode, we broke down some commons and uncommons and talked about some of the rares and things like that. So we actually have our findings. So what do you think overall? Were we pretty spot on with our predictions, or were there cards that underperformed or overperformed in y'all's opinions?
So, like I said, I had 2 Kari Zevs in my deck, and the value you get from her, especially from the 2/1 monkey, triggering Revolt every time, it's a really great ability for sure. Like, I was able to get Revolt just so easily every time I had her out there. Also, the fact that she had Menace was great as well. It just made me be able to get in a lot of early attacks consistently. I could just see my opponents getting frustrated by Kari Zev, and one of my Kari Zevs was the pre-release promo, so everyone noticed that I had 2, and they're like, that is just not fair.
Yeah, it's a little mini hero of Blade Hold effect.
Yeah, so she was great for me, for sure.
Greg, what do you got?
I only did one and had pretty mediocre finishing, but I did open a Tezzeret and ended up going Sultai counters with a blue splash, more or less just for Tezzeret. And Lifecraft Awakening was a house for me. The instant where you can put X/1/1 counters on an artifact creature. I think at one point in time I managed to flip my Smuggler's Copter and do a 13/13.
Oh my gosh. Oh, you pulled a Smuggler's Copter?
Yeah.
Could combine the powers of Emrakul and Smuggler's Copter into limited.
Oh, man.
God.
Wow.
Well, I think the best deck I saw outside of Brad's on the pre-release. Brad's deck was one of the stronger decks that I had seen the first night. It was very, very well put together. A friend of ours named Wendell Baker, on Saturday, he came to me and kind of showed me his pool, and he had a really just stout Jund energy-based deck that was just, never had problem getting energy, had the guy that you could pay energy to give him flying, trample, or all these abilities, and he had the demon.
Yeah, that Herald of Anguish. I played against Wendell.
Yeah.
And he cast Herald of Anguish, I think turn 4 or turn 5, and it's just over when you get that guy out on the field in a limited match. It's just the discard and just the fact that he could sacrifice an artifact, and you get as much removal as you want.
Yeah.
Basically, as long as you have an artifact to pay for it. And it was just, it was brutal.
Well, he had the best uncommon in the set too, as Greg pointed out. He had the 5-drop 5/5 that pumped your entire team. That card's broken. That card is worthy of being a rare, and the fact they gave it as an uncommon is just insane.
The one that's basically a Verdurous Gearhulk.
Yes, the one that turns into a Verdurous Gearhulk.
As long as you have 3 creatures on the field when you cast it, it's basically a Verdurous Gearhulk.
Well, he had two of my top 5 overall commons in the set too. He had the Freeze Ray too on the artifact, the 1-drop artifact that can freeze a creature down. Like his pool was just very, very strong. I mean.
Did he end up getting first that day?
Yeah, he ended up winning his event.
Nice.
He chopped into the last round, but I mean, he chopped with Edgar, and Edgar's deck wasn't going to be able to keep up with Wendell's, so it was kind of just as a formality kind of thing.
Yeah, day 2, my pulls were not nearly as good. I ended up dropping after my second game. I finished 1-1, but I had to go spend some time with the wife. So
well, yeah, I mean, you can't have stellar pulls every event, and then you just get spoiled.
For sure. Yeah.
But I mean, I think Greg's pull, the Bug Tezzerator deck he built, was very, very strong too. It's just I watched him and he'd get land flooded or not get the colors he needed.
Yeah. I was really upset. I did not pull one Planeswalker this past weekend out of opening 23 packs.
Oh, well. You
not
pulled
one.
2 of the Pirate. You're fine.
I know. Actually, 3. I pulled another Kari Zev on Saturday.
Well, I mean,
but I couldn't play her because I had nothing in red
Yeah.
that day. I was like, damn it.
And see, I elected to not do the pre-release events. I wanted to save my money to buy constructed staples, which I will be playing F&M this week, and I am super excited about playing with my F&M brew.
Oh, what are you planning on playing?
We will be talking about that in a little later in this show.
Sorry. Don't want to get the segments out of order.
Yeah, a little. So, okay, so since you and Greg played in the pre-release and y'all kind of got some knowledge, what colors do y'all think are stronger than the other colors just based off of y'all's experiences? Like what colors in the limited are, let's try to get into these colors, or like the marquee colors for limited?
For me, I think blue was the worst.
Yeah, I can.
Black seemed very strong every time I played against black. Just in general, I expected their deck to be pretty decent. Red and white were both very good for me. I mean, I can only speak as far as what I pulled. I think the main thing that helped me is I pulled Sky Sovereign.
Turns out that card's pretty good.
Yeah, in limited, it's just almost unbeatable. I mean, every time I was able to cast Sky Sovereign, I won. And I think Owen Turtenwald in the Pro Tour Kaladesh, he built a deck that had Sky Sovereign, and he 3-0'd it on day one of the Pro Tour. Mm-hmm. So the same thing happened with him, you know. If you have Sky Sovereign in your deck, anytime you cast it, it's almost unbeatable. It's just so brutal to deal with.
All right, Greg, what do you got?
I'm still really big on green right now. Mm-hmm. All of their creatures are just all so far above where creature curves are. And green was also one of the stronger colors in Kaladesh as well.
I agree with that.
So it carrying over and being a predominant color in both sets, I think leads to green being very well positioned. And agreeing with what Brad said, I think blue's probably the weakest of the five. And most of that's because blue doesn't have an identity really in Kaladesh and Aether Revolt.
Yeah.
Because half of it wants to be aggro, half of it wants to be control, and it just falls somewhere in the middle of mediocrity.
Yeah, no, it's a real big support color. I think it's not a standalone color by any means at all.
No,
yeah,
I agree with that.
I would agree with that too. Yeah, I would agree with Greg. Green was very strong. I played green day 2. I had decent pools for that, but the problem was I didn't have any big bombs. But I had a lot of like very consistent creatures. I had green. Is it Greenbelt Rampager, the elephant 3/4?
Yeah,
what's that one
the
called?
one drop 3/4 elephant.
Yeah, I ended up playing him, and he did better for me than I thought because I had several other creatures that were energy sources.
Well, I think in limited he's a very fine card. Like he's still a pretty good bomb in limited.
Yeah, I mean, as a turn 1 play, he's not as good. I mean, if he's your only turn 1 play, he's not bad. Mm-hmm. If it's either get an energy or do nothing, it's not that bad. But I was able to cast him several other times on like turn 3 and just pay the energy and you have a one drop 3/4. You know, so he was good for that. But overall, just the creatures are like Greg said, they're just a little bit bigger than most of the other colors based on what you're getting for how much mana they are. So,
well, so what are some of the cool little interactions that y'all saw or y'all discovered with these decks? What are like some cool little combos you could go into? Did y'all find any other than the Saheeli Rai combo?
So I played white both days. In both decks, I think it's Ethergood Miner, the one that's the 2/2 for 2, if I'm remembering right, where you can pay 2 energy to exile him and then bring him back. Mm-hmm. And the value of that was actually a lot better than I thought because it triggered Revolt, which was good. And also you could attack, and depending on how your opponent blocks, if they choose to block them, then you just pay the 2 energy and he doesn't die. Yeah. You know? And a lot of times after my opponents would realize that I was doing that every time, they just stopped blocking him. So I would get, he would be one of the least likely ones to be blocked. So it was just pretty consistent, a pretty consistent way to get damage in. And triggering Revolt for your second main step is great as well, for sure.
All right. Greg, did you find anything?
Well, I mean, I think the best play that I had was I managed to go play Tezzeret plus Tezzeret to get the Ethereum cell, and then sacrifice the Ethereum cell to drop a Malphus Revolutionary, the 3/3 trampler that proliferates one target, to put Tezzeret up to 7 loyalty with a 3/3 blocker. And at that point, my opponent couldn't deal with them and scooped it before I got an ultimate Tezzeret.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Man.
So I was watching Wendell and his little energy deck, and he had 2 of the consulate turrets, the 3-drop you can tap and gain an energy, pay 3 energy, deal 2 damage. But he also had the rare from Kaladesh. That's an artifact. And let's see, the rare he had, it was where is
The
it?
multiform wonder.
Multiform Wonder. And you just pay an energy and you can gain your choice of flying, vigilance, lifelink until the end of turn. So you're going to have your energy every single turn. Like, I saw that, and he just made this guy just insane. Whenever he had those 2 cards out on the field, he won the game because they couldn't deal with him. And I'm just kind of like, good Lord, this is gross, you know? So, I mean, there's some interesting things I saw. Like I said, I kind of reserved my rights to play Standard with it instead of Limited. I'm not really a very good Limited player anyway.
One thing I think I really learned from this pre-release that I think applies to both Limited and Constructed is that you really don't need to take or underestimate how difficult it can be to trigger Revolt. Basically, don't take it for granted is what I'm saying. You need to have ways to trigger Revolt. Just don't just play Fatal Push and expect to be killing 4-drops left and right. You need to have a way to trigger it. So, like for control decks, having those 4 Evolving Wilds will help for sure. But other than that, if you don't have a consistent way to trigger a Revolt, you need to factor in the fact that maybe half the time you're only going to be able to cast it without its Revolt ability. So use that and keep that in mind when you're evaluating cards for your deck.
So did either one of y'all have any memorable plays that just kind of stuck out to you during the event? Do y'all have like a specific play that you're just like, oh?
So in game 2, I played against this girl that had... I'm really bad with names of this new set. It's the 3/5 where you can pay energy and get lifelink vehicle. What's that one called? The Harvester?
I believe so. Let me look it up real fast, but I believe that's what it's called. Go ahead.
So I just had no way to deal with that. This was game 1, and she ended up taking that game, which luckily I ended up winning the next 2 because of Sky Sovereign. But in that game, she got an early
Aether Sphere Harvester.
She got an early Aether Sphere Harvester. She ended up gaining a total of 22 life from it.
Gross.
Yeah. And I just had no way to deal with it. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty good. And the next game, I got Sky Sovereign, and yeah.
Yeah, that vehicle doesn't really match up to Sky Sovereign.
I didn't see Sky Sovereign at all that game, or have any of my flying creatures, so I just had no way to deal with it.
Yeah. All right, Greg, what about you? Other than your little 1313 Smuggler's Copter wonder?
Not really. I mean, the way my games all ended up turning out was if I saw Tezzeret or Smuggler's Copter, I won.
Yeah.
If I didn't, my deck just kind of petered out.
But I talked to a couple of other people in the DFW area. There was a guy that played with a buddy of ours up in Dallas at Common Grounds whose deck had 1 Saheeli Rai, 2 of the cats for the Infinite. He had a Invention Chalice of the Void, and then he had a couple of counter spells. And he's just like, yeah, he built Jeskai Control and won the whole game, or won the whole thing. And I said, well, yeah, you should.
Oh, my God. Wow.
You pull like Dub's Infinite combos.
Oh, my God.
So, I mean, some people, just have all the luck. There's not really...
That's what everyone was talking about as they were opening their packs, is like, I really want the Infinite combo.
Well, I just wanted somebody to get the Painter Servant combo.
Yeah.
I know it's 2 masterpieces, but I wanted to see it. Yeah. Like, I didn't hear any reports of anybody doing that, though.
Yeah. I did not see a Philidar Guardian either day, so if I had pulled a Saheeli, that would have been quite the blue balls.
I don't know if we saw a single Saheeli opened at the shop.
I don't think so.
I mean, there was several Felidar Guardians, but I didn't see any Saheelis.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody did at Aerostar.
Yeah. Okay, so this weekend we have a couple of exciting things. This is the first weekend where the new ban list is in effect. So we get to see what Standard is like without the 3 juggernauts that have been oppressing us. And that is Emrakul, Smuggler's Copter, and Reflector Mage. So basically everything's wide open. This is a brewer's paradise right now. Nobody has any established decks. Nobody knows what's going to happen. and we get to throw in a brand new set with it as well. So we get this ban list, which cleans the formats, and then they throw in a whole bunch of new cards. So what are some of the deck ideas that y'all expect to see that you expect to take power pretty fast?
Looking at this, I'm kind of looking at it as a set rotation. There's so much that the tier decks lost that I think the hyper aggressive decks are going to stand out for the first couple weeks, and then it'll slow back down into more of a mid-rangey control format.
Right.
So the decks I'm looking to play starting off, I've got green-black Delirium built still, just in case that ends up being good. Like, I've seen some articles on Star City where I forget who it was that says that he thinks it's still going to be good. I think his list, he put in like more Verter's Gearhulks or something.
Kind of like a more aggressive type build.
Yeah, I guess overall green-black is a very good, strong deck still. Who knows? But I think the deck I'm leaning towards right now is control involving blue and black, splashing either white or red for Grixis or Esper.
You could even splash green, and as long as you got blue-black, you're fine.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just those are the two main colors.
Yeah, I'd kind of like to do Grixis. That's kind of what I'm leaning towards right now. Maybe even running the Wandering Fumarole infinite combo.
Yeah,
just as an extra win condition.
Yeah, just make an infinite
along with
dude.
3 Torrential Gearhulks.
Yeah.
I don't know. That sounds very appealing to me right now.
Just, I'm with Brad. I think I'm going to start off blue-black X control. And I don't know. I think what Greg said is right. I think either the aggro decks are going to take power right off the bat because they lost the least amount. I mean, they lost Smuggler's Copters, but that's about it. So, I mean, the white-black humans list that was floating around is still fine. You can make this green-white humans list with Oath of Ajani. Like, there's just different ways you can go with aggro, but I think control is going to start off pretty fast because they're only going to have to prepare for those aggro decks. A lot of the mid-range decks and toolbox decks aren't going to be set yet, so control doesn't have to diversify its kill spells. And I think at the Pro Tour, you're going to see a lot of control decks because it's still going to be so fresh of a format. Like, you're going to have to prepare for aggro, and then that combo is the two big things everyone are talking about. And that's pretty easy for control to build around right now. Yeah,
and with Grixis control, you can run both Yeheni's expertise and board in some Radiant Flames or whatever. Just to really help you with your aggro matchup.
Well, the red expertise is also very, very good as well. Steal a creature, play something, I think, for 2 or less. I think that card's incredibly underrated right now as well. So if you go Grixis, you could even run that.
Yeah, for sure.
I know I'm starting off on control as well. Mm-hmm. Only I'm just running mono blue Baral control.
Yeah, well, mono blue Drago.
Yeah, mono blue Drago. I get to run 10 copies of counter spells, guys.
Yeah, Baral is. I think Baral is going to be decent and constructed too. I think he's pretty underrated or undervalued in limited. He's not that great in limited. I know a couple people who opened him and were super excited to play him, and he just doesn't do you much.
Yeah.
No, but being able to drop him on turn 3 and constructed with 1 blue mana up to represent negate or any of the typical 2 mana counter spells.
Yeah.
And then you just get to untap with them and play the rest of your game draw go with 4 Torrential Gearhulks.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty good because Engulf the Shore is still in standard.
Oh, yeah.
Being able to flash back and engulf the shore with Torrential Gearhulk, bounce their board, and then you get to bounce the Gearhulk back to your hand. It seems fun.
Yeah.
Mono blue brain in the jar.
it seems fun for one player.
Yeah, no, it's going to be very, very one-sided if that goes off. Also, we've heard like a blue-red control list with barrels floating around, just burn and counter with the Gearhulks, and then there's been a blue taking turns deck with barrels and with part the water veils and just take a bunch of turns. The most exciting brew I've heard from anyone in our little group talking about is Colton Edwards sent me a list for blue-white Aetherflux Reservoir combo in Standard. And then he sent me the Star City Games article that he saw that deck on, and it runs Ceram, so it makes all of your artifacts cheaper. And then you get to just loot every time you play artifacts. So the combo is you get the Aetherflux Reservoir, You play a whole bunch of 0-drop artifacts, and then you play Paradoxical Outcome, bounce all those back with a Saram in play, and then every 0-drop artifact you play, you're drawing additional cards. So you're going to draw like your entire deck, and you just win. I mean, it looks sweet. I don't know how it'll run. I'm sure we'll see it tomorrow, but I mean, it looks really sweet.
Strom is like the perfect.
There was one combo deck I saw floating around on our spikes with Reddit that looks a hell of a lot of fun to play. The person who posted it is Ninja the Nick, and it's a blue-green paradox combo.
Oh boy!
Using the Rampager elephant, the 3/4 that generates an energy, with paradox engine to untap everything and Cryptolith right to just get all of the mana, all of the energy. And then use things like Lifecrafter's Bestiary or the Dockhand to rearrange, draw your whole decks, and use the Walking Ballista to just drop it down and just kill your opponent out of nowhere. Traditionally, the deck should be very not good because it's like a 4-card combo, but it looks like it's real fun to play.
So we also have the SCG Open this weekend in Columbus, Ohio. So we will get a chance to see some of the new standard decks in action. It may kind of help dictate or help give us an idea of what we're going to see at the Pro Tour as well. What kind of decks are you guys expecting to see this weekend?
I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of control. I mean, I really do. Just because everyone's going to kind of try to force that combo, and control decks can stop that combo pretty good, just with the amount of removal and counter spells they've got. And then I think there's going to be some people that are still going to try to fight through Yahini's expertise with aggro decks and things like that. There might be some black-green Delirium decks still floating around, but I think the decks that run Mardu vehicles, they're going to be a little less in force because people aren't going to know where they're going to go without some hard play testing on it, without that copter.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I mean, that's just kind of what I'm thinking about. But there's also another combo that it's in Modern. It involves breaking and entering. So the idea is you play an expertise, and then you cast a breaking entering from your hand, and since it doesn't specify cast one or the other, you get to cast breaking and entering for that free spell. And so what you do is you breaking, you mill yourself for 8, and you either get a Gristlebrand or an Emrakul into your yard, and then you get to cast entering in response to the triggers.
Ah, interesting.
So, I mean, it's super hard, but Saffron Olive wrote a list on it, Sam Black wrote a list on it, and they both think it's pretty good. So I have a friend, again, we're going to remain him nameless just for purposes of the show. He doesn't want to get killed by his significant other. But he invested $40 in breaking enterings. Because if it takes off, because multiple pros have done articles on it, and the minute this new set drops online, you can bet Saffron Olive will post a video series on it. If it takes off and breaking entering goes from 50 cents to $4, he just made out like a bandit. So, I mean, he was telling me just keep it on the hush hush. I don't want, this girl to kill me. And I'm just like, okay, yeah, we're good. I just think it's hilarious that you put $40 in breaking enterings, and that's 80 breaking enterings, by the way.
Oh, man. Well, that has potential upside for sure.
Yeah, I mean,
speculating in general, though, I don't advise it.
Oh no, I don't think it's going to make a lot of headways in Modern, but I mean, it might just be good enough to throw into Agorio's Vengeance type deck.
Yeah,
just to kind of give it another outlet. But I mean, we'll have to see how big the Graveyard Hate is still in Modern before that happens. So, but I mean, I kind of want to see. My hopes for this weekend at the event is I want to see a sweet Planeswalker deck. I want to see a sweet Planeswalker. Yeah, sweet Super Friends deck using Oath of Ajani's and deploy the Gatewatches. And, we're not going to get it. Oath of Nissa is a given.
That deck's actually really intriguing to me.
Oh, it's a lot of fun to run. It is just super hard.
Ajani, if you can get him, kind of ramp into him a little bit, he's actually really good value.
Well, I was thinking turn 2 Oath of Ajani, turn 3 Gideon.
Yeah.
Something of that nature.
That's not bad at all.
No. And, I mean, it could be interesting, but I don't know. if you need to make it 5 colors, you maybe just make it like Abzan, just splash the black for removal and Lilianas and things of that nature.
Yeah.
So
It's not bad at all.
and we'll probably see a few Tezzeret decks. I've seen a lot of
blue-black artifacts.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of traffic on Reddit. I've seen a lot of articles posted, and I've seen a lot of traffic in the DFW Magic Group page about a blue-black artifact control with the Metalwork Colossuses and then Tezzeret as an alternate win con.
Yeah.
I think that deck could make some splashes right out of the gate as well.
Yeah, that could be really good. I mean, it doesn't seem, to me, I don't know, just my first impression, it doesn't seem like it's going to be that difficult to get Tezzeret to Ultimate. Like, I mean, if it is as good as, I mean, I played against it one time and I freaked out when someone cast a Tezzeret this past weekend, and I just attacked everything towards him to prevent it.
Well, as Greg
so that
pointed
could happen,
out,
yeah.
as Greg pointed out a couple of episodes ago, it's the first 4-drop Planeswalker we've had in a while that comes in on 5.
Yeah, that's true.
So you can get to his ultimate pretty quick, and he comes in at a high enough loyalty total that he can protect himself against the first wave of onslaught.
Yeah.
And it's also worth pointing that even if you tick him up, if you're running the Tezzeret deck, you're going to be running Fatal Pushes.
Oh, yeah.
Being able to sack the Ethereum Cell to trigger Revolt and pay for the cost for Fatal Push is, I think
that is a
good.
great point, because like I said earlier, triggering Revolt like that needn't be taken for granted. And that Ethereum Cell, that's just a really easy way to do it.
You get all the Primo black removal. You get Yahini's expertise. You get Battle at the Bridge. I mean, you get all the Primo spells.
Yeah.
Just to protect yourself. You get that new Icy Manipulator. That on turn 1 should be able to lock down the creatures enough for you to ult him.
Yeah. I've seen some red-white humans... Well, red-white humans and dwarves lists too. Because Toolcraft Exemplar is still a really good turn 2 swing for 3. As far as I know, that's one of the only ways to swing for 3 on turn 2 in Standard right now.
Yeah, I think so.
And I also see lists running those red-white humans lists running Kari Zev and the Mimic. I mean, if you get like 1 or 2 counters on Kari Zev, that's insane.
Yeah, I think she's very undervalued right now too.
Yeah, she is legendary, which kind of sucks, but
it doesn't matter. I mean, so like I've seen lists that run her, and then the Garrison, from Kaladesh, the creature version that whenever he swings, he brings in 2/1/1 humans attacking. Like, I've seen a red-white tokens list just go incredibly wide.
Hanware Garrison.
Hanware Garrison.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen a lot of decks run that, just go really wide and then drop the Mimic. And you're just like, woof.
Yeah, that's...
Well, one person up at the shop was telling me what he was planning on in a vehicles deck. And he wants to try to go turn 1 the 7-11 vehicle.
Uh-huh.
And then turn 2... drop double Toolcraft Exemplars, and then enter combat. They both go up to 3/3. You tap both crew the vehicle and swing for 7 on 2.
We're naming that deck the Open 24/7 deck up here, because you're trying to kill them on turn 3, because you go turn 2, drop those, crew it up, turn 3, lay a pump spell on your 7-11 and just kill them on turn 3. Mm-hmm. It's pretty good if you can get it to go off, but duly noted, if your opponent is running black, I would not advise that, because all it takes is you commit all these cards and then they just fatally push it and it's over.
Yeah.
And it's just a huge blowout.
There are some good aggro things.
It's an all-in combo deck.
Yeah. I mean, because swinging for turn 2 with Toolcraft that's giving you 3 damage on turn 2.
Right.
And then you can also drop a Heart of Kirin, and then the next turn crew him with the Veteran Motorist, and you're swinging for 8 on turn 3.
Oh, yeah, I don't think aggro is dead by any means. I think aggro's positioned just fine. It's just we're going to have to take a couple of weeks to tune and tweak and make the builds that we need.
Definitely, for sure.
But I am glad to hear that we're talking about all these decks, and Blue-White Flash still hasn't been talked about, because I am sick of that deck.
I know.
I am just absolutely sick of it. It's still going to be there, but I don't think it's going to be as efficient, because we took out their best 2-drop and their best 3-drop, so they're going to have to kind of regroup as well.
Mm-hmm. the dynamic duo of Spell Queller and Reflector Mage.
May they rest in pieces.
They've been divorced.
So okay, well, what are some of the speaking of the ban list, what are some of the funniest reactions y'all seen to the bannings? I've seen some videos online that just make me chuckle every time I see them. I've seen anywhere from people burning the cards to ashes and then sprinkling the ashes onto a steak and eating the steak, so the cards will always be with them.
Oh my god!
I've seen people put a whole bunch of their cards underneath tannerite, which is an explosive, and then shooting the tannerite and watching the cards rain down like snow. I mean, I've just seen all sorts of crazy things.
I saw somebody, I can't remember if it was on Reddit or the Facebook group. Someone cut out the artwork for their smuggler's copter and pasted it to a Thopter token. So it's now his smuggler's Thopter.
Smuggler's Thopter. I think my favorite one outside of all the videos, just like the altar carding, is there was someone altar arted Emrakul, the promised end, and underneath the wording it says, "We promised it was an end," and it posted the date of the pan list.
Oh gosh!
I thought that was pretty good. Yeah. But there's also a guy that has just said he's been investing in all of them. I think he said he's got like 40 or 50 smugglers copters now and 20 or 30 Emrakuls, because he said he knows it in his gut when 5-week period rolls around they're going to get unbanned, and then he's going to corner the market. I mean,
yeah, I would be pissed.
Yeah,
I don't think they're going to do that.
No, I don't think they can. They would piss way too many people off.
They don't. Yeah, they don't want to piss, because you know how many people out there have just bailed on their Emrakuls.
Oh yeah,
I'm not the only one. I mean, I sold 3 of my Emrakuls and all but my foil smuggler's copter.
Yeah.
So
I think Smuggler's Copter could retain some value if Frontier becomes a sanctioned format, because it turns out he's still good in like the Ensoul artifact decks. But Emrakul, I think, is kind of been reduced to a fringe one of in some Tron list, and I think that's kind of where it's at now. So I don't know. I don't think Emrakul is going to retain a whole lot of value coming out. Okay, so with this new set coming, what are some breakout mythics that y'all think are kind of, we could talk about the mythics you think personally are undervalued that you expect to just turn back right around at the Pro Tour? Because let's face it, at the Pro Tour is where we're going to see the financial spike or the financial decline of some of these mythics in this set. Like, I think the price range right now doesn't represent the power level of some of these cards.
I think Heart of Kirin will be good. It is a 2-drop. It's not going to be as good as Smuggler's Copter for sure, but like I said, swinging for 5 on turn 3 is really not bad. Pairing that, you still have Cultivator's Caravan, so vehicles decks playing both of those vehicles are still going to be pretty good. And I don't know, and also a lot of these vehicles decks might be playing Depala, so crewing with Veterans Motorist while having a Depala out, you're swinging for 6 with Vigilance.
Yeah.
And then once you get your Gideon out, you don't even have to crew it.
Yeah.
So it's like, because kind of one of the ways vehicles are balanced is the crew cost. And late game, if you have your Planeswalker out, you're not a creature down because of that vehicle having to crew. So you just use a Planeswalker loyalty, and I mean, the fact that it has Vigilance,
right?
The threat of being able to use that Planeswalker loyalty has value too, right? For sure.
Gideon just got a lot more important in those decks.
Yeah, the pair right there, and Chandra too. Like, you could also play like a lot of these vehicles sideboard in Chandra. But I don't know. I mean, I think Heart of Kirin is probably my favorite. Also Tezzeret. I don't know. What do you think, Greg?
I really don't know. The format's still so open right now. I think Heart of Kirin will probably go down some because people want it to be Smuggler's Copter, and it's not.
No.
The Herald of Anguish is already spiked. When Craig Wesco first wrote his financial prediction, they were selling for $4 a piece. When pre-release started, they had already spiked up to 13.
Yeah.
And I assume it's only going to keep going up.
Yeah, I'm with Herald of Anguish is my breakout mythic pick for this set. I think this guy is just insanely broken. Like if you throw a couple of him in your blue-black artifact control deck, and you just get like infinite value off of him. You have infinite artifacts to sack to him with Tezzeret in the field. You can make your opponent bleed cards at the end of turn. Like if they don't deal with him immediately, he is just a force, and he will one-handedly win you the game. So I think we're going to see a lot of him the first couple of weeks. I think Greg, like Greg said, he's at 11 to 13 as the mid on TCG right now. I think this easily could be a $20 card before too long.
Yeah, I agree with that one as well. I've always, like, ever since I saw it spoiled, I really liked the Herald, like, and just, I mean, playing against him in limited, I mean, that's a little bit different ballpark, but just seeing him in action was pretty cool. I'm like, man, this could be really good in standard
yeah,
too.
no, playtesting against him, he's just kind of like, man, you don't want to hit this guy on the field. Even when he hits the field, you're just kind of like, God, where's my removal spell right now?
And being able to ramp into him too is just with improvise. I think at this weekend we're definitely going to see some improvised decks running him for sure.
I think another mythic that is undervalued. Like, granted, he's over $10 right now, but I really do think this new Tezzeret is undervalued right now.
Yeah,
I could
I would
easily
agree.
see him being a $20 to $25 planeswalker as well.
Yeah,
Like his power levels are just all there. Like whenever when I first read him, I was really underwhelmed. But then when I reread him, I was just kind of like, man, this guy is actually pretty good.
yeah. Like if you're considering running a blue-black artifacts deck, I'd definitely get your Tezzerets before the Pro Tour.
Yeah, see, I don't think he's a 4 of, but I think 2 to 3 of he will fit just nicely in that slot. You know, depending on how you want to build around him. So I mean, I could see him going up to around 20, 25 as well after the Pro Tour. As far as like mythics not from the new set that I think are going to go up, I think Gideon will go up a little bit because he becomes, like Brad said, all much more important in those vehicles deck with Heart of Kirin out. Torrential Gearhulk is already starting to spike.
Yeah, luckily I got mine
Yeah.
before. I got them at 11, and then now they're at like, what, 17?
Yeah, Greg was just telling me he bought his yesterday.
I bought mine earlier today at 17 each.
Yeah, so they're starting to go up.
Yeah, because I bought the 2 more to give me the full play set of them.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Good.
those are going to be cards that I think are going to shine in this set too. Because if the format does slow down a little bit with all these new black and removal spells and counter spells we get, those cards will be insanely good.
Yeah.
So, do you think Sphinx of the Final Word will get over $1?
Sphinx of the Final Word might spike. Well, he's at $1 right now. I could.
No, it's like
Dude, I'd get him now for 50 cents. I could easily see him being $1.13. You know.
You should speculate, Greg. Buy 40 like that other
Yeah,
guy.
just invest $40 in Sphinx of the Final Words.
Yeah.
If I'm going to speculate on something, it's going to be in what is it? Dark Intentions, the Nicol Bolas card. They're going for a quarter a piece right now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You could speculate all you want on this set. We should have speculated in Saheeli, pooled our money and spent $1,000 on Saheeli when she was 5, and then sold them off when she hit 25.
I really wish we would have done that.
God, we would have made so much money.
I know. I'm just happy I got her. Like, I remember we were driving around that day trying to find Saheeli's.
Oh my God, yeah.
And we're like, oh my God, now she's at 10.
We're driving
Now
down to
she's at 11.
Stephenville. We're driving down to Stephenville talking about deck ideas with her, and Brad's on his phone every 5 minutes. She's going up. She's going up again. Oh my God, she's still going up.
Yeah.
We're just like,
I remember I bought a few. Ended up getting 2 more on TCG Player for 14 each before. I think now she's at like what, 22, 23.
Yeah, she's stabilized around 20 to 25.
Yeah, like there was so much demand for her right there. Like I was trying to buy 2 at first, and they had been bought before I had a chance to check out. Like that happened twice. Like I'm just like, oh my God, this is just. She's going to keep going up because I can't even check out on TCG Player.
Well, so
and I finally got one. I'm like, okay, thank you.
Financial predictions for Saheeli Rai. I'm going to go ahead and throw out. I think she could, if the combo works, she could easily be a $40 or $50 card because Splinter Twin. Whenever Splinter Twin was working, it was what, 20 to 25. Is that what it spiked out at in Standard?
I think so.
So the difference is between this and Splinter Twin. Splinter Twin did not have the mythic price tag attached to it. Splinter Twin was just a straight rare. The fact that Saheeli is a planeswalker for one, and a mythic for another, and a 3-drop, she could easily be a $40 or $50 planeswalker, just like Liliana, if this combo takes off.
Yeah, there's no reason not that she wouldn't be that valuable for sure.
Yeah,
if the demand is that high.
It's also worth note that unlike Splinter Twin, This combo, I still think people are off thinking that it's a Splinter Twin, because it's going to be a lot harder to. You don't have to respect it like you did Splinter Twin on turn 4, because they have to play the stuff out first. But I can see it as a pretty good combo kill turn 6 on.
Yeah.
At any time your opponent overcommits, well, you just play both of them and win right there.
See, I only see her hitting that price tag if if a deck proves the combo is consistent enough for the masses to follow.
Yeah.
I think this could be really, really good, or it could be a bomb. I just don't know.
Yeah, it's a total coin flip.
I'm not sure. Like I've been flipping back and forth constantly. Like the other day, I was just looking at people could be playing. I wonder if you paired Elder Deep Fiend. It's just a thought. You could tap down their lands on the end of their turn, or on their turn.
Yeah, you can,
and then go into your turn and just.
But you do have to have a creature to sacrifice to do that, unless you want to pay the full 8 for Elder Deep Fiend.
Yeah, that's true. So. There's so many different combinations. I just think the potential is definitely there.
Yeah.
Somebody will probably figure it out, and I would be very surprised if it's not at least one of the top Gauntlet decks. Now, how dominant it is, that remains to be seen. But
yeah. What I would be afraid of going into it is if the pros break it at Pro Tour. We do have another ban list coming out.
We do.
A week after Pro Tour.
Yeah, that could be one of the things. If it's just everywhere at the Pro Tour, they might say, okay, well, we give you a week with this card, and it's already just everywhere. We're gonna nip it in the butt and ban one of the cards.
Yeah, because Wizards have come out and said that the Coco format was a mistake. We
all know that.
Yeah, but the Eldrazi Winter that Modern went through was a mistake, and they're wanting to be more proactive on keeping the format healthy.
Well, and I mean, the reasoning they just gave for banning the cards they did was because these cards were in so many decks. Like, they would, if they didn't have an emergency banning based off of those results, like say it puts in like 60 plus results percentage at the Pro Tour, they would be breaking their own reasoning, and it would make them look like foolish children, because it's just like, you just gave us these bans for this reason, but now you're going to let this combo stay? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
they had to have known about it, though. Like,
R&D knew about it.
Yeah, I'm just like, why would they ban it so fast?
I think R&D was kind of like, hey, we have this 1/4 Deceiver Exarch. This can't be bad. Oh, wait, whoops, we have a Kiki Jiki in the format.
Yeah.
Whoopsie daisy.
Maybe they were also just kind of bitter that Saheeli was like the face of Kaladesh, and that was on all their promo artwork, and everyone was just like, she sucks.
It has been, when the Splinter Twin combo came out, we read all the Reddit articles, and R&D admitted saying, whoops, we totally whiffed on this one, guys. We completely forgot we gave y'all a 2-card combo.
Oh.
And we're just kind of like, you whiffed. We've had a standard with Pestermite and Kiki Jiki in play. You knew this was a thing, and you did it again. So this is like, I guess they're maybe thinking third time's the charm. Maybe it'll work this time okay? Like, I mean, if the combo goes off, it goes off. There's nothing you can do about it. It's game over. But, I mean, I think this is probably the most, defensible combo out of the 3 tries that we had.
It could be that they are planning, like, they made it planning on the possibility that they'd have to ban it. Like, I mean, think about it from a financial standpoint. It got everyone super excited. Everyone's buying Kaladesh right now.
Yeah.
They're like, everyone's like, it's a hot new chase card for Kaladesh. It's good for Wizards financially, for sure.
If they come out and they start putting stuff like that out to sell packs, and then after the initial waves are done, they ban it,
yeah,
they're going to lose so many people because of that.
People will stop playing Standard and go into Eternal formats and be done with it.
Overall, that's a bad. I hope that's not what they're doing, but
I think that they're more okay with this one because it's not a turn 4 combo,
right?
Or
it could be, but it mostly won't be.
Yeah, it's not like the Splinter Twin combo where it's the end of turn, you flash in the 3-drop, untap, play the 4-drop, and win.
Right.
This one, your opponent has a lot more time to interact with it. And then the earliest you can just combo off in that manner is turn 6. And at that point, there's a lot of answers that you could have drawn at that point in the game.
Right. So, okay, so this And this, I want to talk about something that was just launched a couple of days ago. And as a Magic player who's, not rich by any means, we're just, standard Magic player, this kind of worries me. So, Channel Fireball released the pre-registration events for Grand Prix Las Vegas, which takes place in June. So they're giving you almost half a year to pre-register for their next Grand Prix. Since there's 3 Grand Prix, and it is in Las Vegas, 3 different Grand Prix. You have a Legacy Grand Prix, a Modern Grand Prix, and an Amonkhet Sealed Grand Prix. It's $90 to enter one of these as a pre-registration. Late registration is an even $100. This worries me because the last time we saw Channel Fireball raise the prices up to $70 was in Houston, not this past February, but, well, I guess it was this past February. They raised it to $70, and before that, Grand Prix were at $60 apiece. And now this set the tone. Every single Grand Prix is $70. I'm worried that if Channel Fireball keeps spiking prices like this, that every single event is going to be so unaffordable to the common people that they're going to lose attendance. Because, I, for one, am not comfortable paying over $100 to play in an event that you might, only play in for 5 rounds. What is, I don't know. I don't even know what's going on here. I don't know if Channel Fireball is just being greedy or they think they can justify raising these prices or what. This is just kind of shocking to me that the pre-registration is $90.
Yeah, I understand it does cost a good bit of money to host one of these events, and if they're not, if they're not making enough to justify it, then I understand the price raise. But I wonder, if you have to raise the price, fine, but if your player base is not willing to pay it, that could backfire as well. So I'm wondering whether it's they should have raised it just a little bit at a time instead of like a 33% price hike.
Yeah.
Smaller increments are better. Netflix learned that the hard way a while back ago.
What was that, Greg?
Do we know if with the GPs when Wizards went through and changed out the prize support and all the pro stuff that they caught a lot of backlash for?
Yeah.
Did they up the prize support for the GPs? Because that could be.
So the new prize support for side events and things in the GP, you don't even get packs. You get prize tickets, and you can
for the main event though, because that's what you're paying.
For the main the prize structure for the main event still is the same. GPs are I think $50,000 tournaments total, and that hasn't changed. The only thing that's changed is the Star City based events. So if Star City spiked the prices to $70, they'll splash an extra $2,000 or $3,000 in the prize pot. So now 5Ks are our Star City Opens are not just $5,000 events; they're $10,000 events now. So Star City actually fluctuates the prize pool. GPs don't though; they're just straight $50,000 event payout. Okay. And the justification they made it there is they made it where you only have to go 6 and 3 at GPs instead of 7 and 2. But even still, if you go 6 and 3 on day one, you have no shot to top 8. So, you might make your money back if you top 64, maybe.
Magic players are not going to enjoy having to pay this extra bit, especially since the point of Grand Prix is everyone's grinding. They're trying to go to multiple Grand Prix a year because there's a variance in Magic, and just playing in a bunch of Grand Prix is the best way to account for that variance. So you can place and do well, and whether you're playing to qualify for pro points or you're playing to try to top 8 and get a Pro Tour invite, it's just overall that's just more money to spend. So,
all right, so let's time for the weekly random crew question. Last week's was describe an experience we had in Magic that's going to be most memorable for us forever. This week, I want y'all to talk about your favorite Magic card of all time. And we'll go ahead and start with Brad. He's smiling on his face right now.
Man, it's tough to pick my favorite Magic card of all time. I can just talk about what's been my favorite card the past couple months. Just mainly because I really like getting just telling my opponent, all right, and I get 40 zombies this turn. It's Liliana, the Last Hope. She's probably my favorite planeswalker. Just because her ultimate is just the best feeling.
Oh
ever.
yeah.
especially, it's very funny when you're playing against somebody who doesn't really understand how the ultimate works, and you explain it to them for the first time, and you're just like, okay, I get 17 zombies this time, and they're like, what? It's a pretty good feeling.
Last night, I will say this, Brad, I did a tribute to you, I guess, a tribute to Tyler, a tribute to Greg, because they both like the white-black formats. Well, I did a cube last night where I drafted Liliana the Last Hope, and then I ulted her, and then I blew up all the lands. So I just had these never-ending zombies coming in with it. He didn't have any lands to react, and he was just kind of like, "Wow, that's awful." And I was like, "Yeah." So
it's very hard to lose if you ultimate her. I think I've only lost once.
Yeah,
and that's because I was near death already. So,
all right, Greg, what do you got?
Put on the spot, probably my favorite Magic card's old Grey Merchant of Asphodel. Yeah. Me and him did so much work during Theros Standard.
And what does Grey Merchant do?
It is a 5-drop zombie that's a black 4 colorless for a 2/4. And then whenever it comes in, it has Devotion to Black. And you drain your opponent equal to the number of black mana symbols on your board. So you run cards like Pack Rat, you run cards like Night Veil Spectre and Desecration Demon. So by the time you drop him, he's representing like a 12, 14, 16 point life swing.
Yeah.
And
you gain that much life too.
Yeah. Typically it was your opponent loses 8, you gain 8, which is the 16 point swing.
Yeah.
But for a 5-drop common, he did work in that format.
I'm surprised you didn't go with the old Blood Baron of Viscopa or the Blister Grub.
No, it was real close between Gary and Pack Rat.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, mine is, I'm pretty sure people could guess mine because for a few years I was just preaching this card over and over. It is a Raven Guildmaster. Raven Guildmaster is a 3-drop 1/1 that has Morph. And the effect of the card is whenever he deals combat damage to a player, that player exiles the top 10 cards of your library from the game. So it kind of has like a little Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger effect, but it's a 3-drop with a morph. So you can swing with this morph creature, and then if they don't want to block a 2/2, you can unmorph him and then just surprise exile the top 10 cards out. So I think this card's good, and for years I tried to find a foil one, and we went to a GP in Austin, and all the vendors had one left, and they were selling it for $4 because it wasn't near mint. And so I was talking to my buddy Andrew, who was standing in line with me. I said, "Yeah, I really want this. This is awesome. I can't believe I'm going to get one." So Andrew bought it right in front of me, and I was like, "Oh, cool. He's going to give me a present." So he bought it and then tore it up in front of me, and I was just kind of like, "Oh my god, you asshole!" So,
oh man.
Well, I mean, that's all we've got for today. I'm looking forward to the new constructed format. You know, it is definitely the right time to improvise and hope we don't start a revolt. So,
that was bad. You should feel bad.
Sounds like a
gotta pick your moments to.
Sounds like a joke LSV would make.
We gotta do the weekly bad puns where we can take them, people. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see where it's gonna go. I think next week's episode will do a whole lot of talking about what we found out at the FNMs, and I'm planning to, the winner of this FNM, I'm planning to have a deck tech with their deck next week, just kind of as a starting point. I think that's a good way to start, and then
we can talk about the Open in Columbus too.
Yeah, we'll definitely jump into the results of the Open because I think
deck lists, top 8 deck lists.
They will give us deck lists, and then
I'm excited.
And then in the following week, or no, 2 weeks away, I guess, weekend of February 4th is the Pro Tour, and it is also the regionals, the regional tournament up in Plano in Madness Comics and Games, and that will be Modern. So this will be the first regionals in a while we've had to where we can't just copy the Pro Tour list and play an event in regionals with.
Are we all playing in that?
I will be playing in that, yes. I believe
like
Brad Egerton is, and if Greg has off of work, I believe he will be there as well.
Yeah, I should be able to play. I just need to replace my Gataxian probes.
Yeah, there will be a good showing from Aerostar Games going. So I think there's 5 or 6 people going.
I'll work that weekend. So
okay, so Greg McCormick will not be going. So, all right, well, that's all we've got for this week. So we'll see y'all next week, and we'll have some more juicy topics to talk about. And for everyone planning on playing in events this weekend with the new set, good luck, and hopefully you have some fun. All right, see you next week.